Chris Sands here with Profi 2020 Dental CPAs, and we have an exciting presentation for you today with Amol Nirgudkar, CEO of Patient Prism, an incredible artificial intelligence software used vastly in the DSO community as well as private practices. The 2019 American Dental Association Celerant Award for Best Technology. And he's going to share with us some incredible best practices for how Patient Prism and recording your phone calls and improving your conversion rate can improve your revenue. As you know, in the accounting world, we can't increase your revenue. So we look to experts like Amol and his company with Patient Prism to help our clients increase their conversion, new patients, and overall revenue to improve their practices, and we can then improve their profitability. So Amol, thank you so much for joining us today.
Chris, what a pleasure it is. And by the way, not just the CEO of Patient Prism, I have walked the shoes. I'm a former CPA, a recovering CPA, or I guess a retired CPA, whatever that is. But it was one of my most fulfilling careers. I enjoyed spending time with my clients, and I see so much. I feel nostalgic coming into this office, thinking about the impact you're making on your clients in such a more meaningful way than even I did when I practiced. And so congratulations for the growth of your firm and what you've done. And truly you've set yourself apart as the CPA firm of choice when it comes to providing more than just bookkeeping and tax services, but really going above and beyond to help these practices truly grow their businesses, make the right decisions, to save taxes, save money, and lead a successful life.
Yeah, not only to impact their business, but to help them, create the life they want. I love it that I think the one thing that we share in common is that you're a big picture guy. So that's actually, I've found that's difficult for CPAs to be as big picture. And your experience in the dental CPA world and seeing the big picture of dentistry and then creating this technology is just extremely fascinating.
I'm excited about talking to you guys about AI. It's a buzzword today. Everybody talks about AI. What is it? And sometimes it's misused because you know what it is. People think it's math. People think it's statistics. And we're going to really demystify AI today from the perspective of a dental office, right? And why did we get into this business? What are we doing how are we using really this whole concept of artificial intelligence to put more patients in your chair? That's the bottom line. At the end of the day, it's very simplistic. We want more new patients coming in and scheduling an appointment. So I want to start my presentation really with my next slide, which is really about some of the challenges that we're facing today. And I'm going to go through them. One of the big challenges the reason why we got into this business was I had a marketing company. After a CPA firm, I started a marketing company for dental offices, and we were driving a good amount of leads into the dental office. Leads as in phone calls, and we were very successful at that. And our dental offices were spending a good amount of money on pay-per-click or postcards or whatever that might be. And in some markets today, an implant click costs $100 with Google. It's expensive. Facebook's getting expensive too. And the leads are coming into the phone calls, but only 50% of these leads or phone calls or prospects were being booked into scheduled appointments. Now, when I realized that, I'm like, man, this is trouble. I mean, the way I realized it was by accident. Our clients who are dental offices started telling us that, hey, Amol, your marketing is not working. We're spending all this money, but we're not seeing new patient growth. And I'm like, why is that? And then I realized maybe there's something wrong somewhere. So I decided to record phone calls using some recording services. And we employed people to listen to phone calls all day. As you can realize, that's not an efficient process, right? How many phone calls are you going to listen to? And which ones are you going to then respond back to, right? So we realized that was a problem. And then I read all these books by Fred Joyal and Linda Mile, all these people who have been consulting for 20 years, 30 years, and said, oh my God, phone is the most important instrument in your office, right? It's not your, not any of your instruments, but phone is the most important instrument because that's where the drop-off happens. So that's where we started the journey. We realized that we got to do something with changing the way we communicate with our patients on the phone. Now, when I presented the ADA a few months ago, and I looked at what's going on with dentistry today, and looked at 4 different challenges. Not just in terms of challenges the practices have, but challenges overall that prevent patients from coming into dental office. As we know, the ADA said, the Health Policy Institute said, 52% of Americans did not see a dentist last year. Right, that's a big number, right? And we need to get more people into the mix by doing whatever it is. Number one thing people face today is shortage of time. They don't have enough time to do everything because we're multitasking, spending 2 hours on Instagram and Facebook. Like, there's so much going on. We don't have enough time. And why do I say this? Because if we are a dentist, we're a dental practice, we're trying to impress upon a prospective customer, and that prospective customer has no time, you have very little time to impress them, right? So that's something that we need to think about is shortage of time, because when we design our campaigns in marketing, we have to think about how much time will that person devote to that ad, that landing page, that website, that video. If you don't think of that, right? If you bore them with an hour of content, or if you don't have the right mechanisms, and we'll talk about that in the next slide, which is the journey of the patient, you're going to lose them. The second thing that is happening, as we all know, we've all become doctors, right? We've all become Google doctors.
Google doctors, yeah.
Right? We all like to Google everything. The benefit of that is that we're educated more than ever before. Now, patients, it's very often we've listened to 8 million calls. We have very common. I got a root canal number 14. People say that kind of stuff nowadays, right? And especially the newer generation, they know exactly what they want. They know exactly their price shop. They've looked at alternatives. They know exactly the quality of the bone that you might be implanting for a bone graft. So it's really important that our people who are talking to the patients for the first time on the phone or whether in person, they're completely aware and educated about everything that the patient is asking for. So we have to be educated, because if we don't feel confident enough in our education, we're going to lose patient trust. So that's really important. Consumer sophistication is important. And if we don't have the sophistication to explain what they already know, then we're not going to gain patient trust. Super important. The third thing that has changed in the last 20 years, more so because of Clear Choice Dental Implant Centers. They came into business and they really redefined marketing. Before that, in the 70s and the 80s, you found your dentist by asking your friends and family.
Sure.
And even advertising was not allowed for professionals. Even CPAs couldn't advertise at one point. But that changed. But over the last 20 years, especially now than ever before, dentistry has become what we call in marketing a direct-to-consumer model, which means dentists are directly going to the consumers and advertising to get, just like pharmaceuticals, right? Take this, ask your doctor about whatever. That's what's happening in dentistry, not in the TV level as of yet. The big boys are doing TV. Affordable Dentures does TV ads. Clear Choice does TV ads. Some of the big DSOs do TV. But
it's all about getting on that iPhone these days, though, right?
You've got to get on the iPhone. So you've got to really figure out how to take advantage of that strategy. Not only take advantage of the strategy in terms of deploying it, but what happens to those leads when they come in. You want to be able to convert them. So conversion optimization, Google will tell you, anybody in the SEO world, anybody in the marketing world, if they have one thing to say, including Google, they'll say conversion optimization is the most important thing you can do in marketing. You've got to be able to convert.
And I think, I see, there's been statistics have been put out that, let's say, DSOs maybe spend 6 to 8% of their revenues on marketing, and private practices may only be spending 1 to 2%, or maybe they're even being coached incorrectly to only be spending 1 to 2% of revenues on marketing. And I think it's because a lot of them don't believe that it works. And really where the point where it works or doesn't work is at this point of conversion. If somebody actually calls the office, they're giving you the buying signal, they're ready to buy. And if you can't make it easy for them to get an appointment, then you lose it. And it's like, well, the marketing doesn't work. And it's the biggest fallacy and the biggest waste of revenue, I think, that happens in business growth.
100% agree with that. And I spend a lot of time, you spend a lot of time with your clients, but that if you're living in the 1 to 3% world, I'm sorry, that's not the world we're in today. You're not, right? Unless You're in the perfect location. You have no competition, and everybody comes to you. You're the village dentist. Okay, well, wonderful. Right? You're in Atlanta, Miami, any of these metropolitan areas where there is new dental offices being formed every single day. You cannot afford to be that way. The reason why is because you're going to be outranked, and you're going to run out of money, and your ads are never going to show up, and you're going to be done by 9 o'clock in the morning, and you have not enough budget. Your budget's going to run out by 9 o'clock in the morning. And then what do? Might as well keep the money with yourself and spend it on somebody else. Give them bonuses to staff. But don't do that. But completely agree with that. So marketing is a big focus. Have to understand what does it take to acquire a customer, and what eventually what happens with that customer in terms of production. Access to care, super important. Most Americans, as I said earlier, have not seen a dentist. There's cost, there's lack of insurance, there's COVID concerns. They're ending now, but still they were last year. Dental anxiety and much more. And why do I say this? Is because we as dentistry need to do a better job at getting people to understand the importance of getting dental care, right? And we haven't done a good job, right? And access to, and we need to make a better job at not only getting them to be aware of it, we need to do a better job of convincing them that it's affordable, and it's affordable if you treat it correctly.
To take action
on the right basis. Things only get worse in the mouth. Right. They don't get better. So that is where I want to kind of frame this discussion in terms of these are the challenges. This is what we need to really think about, and really design our campaigns, or really have new respect for what I call is the patient journey. Right? Is really how are you getting the patients into what we in marketing call the funnel, and how does that patient go through the entire funnel and come out successfully? And what does that come out successfully means? That they have accepted the treatment, they have gotten the treatment, they have paid for the treatment, and they have referred friends and family. That's what success means, right? Success doesn't mean you have a beautiful website. Success doesn't mean you have beautiful reviews. Success doesn't mean you have you're scheduling a patient. Success means all of those things, right? All the things that we're defining as success is we want to make sure that every time we touch a dental patient, whether it's human, through our website, through our phone, ads, whatever that might be, that interaction is absolutely perfect. Because if it's not, the patient's going to stop right in their tracks and not move forward. Right? So I'll let you ask a question about that, and then I'll move forward.
Well, Amol, I was going to make a comment that we talk a lot about to our clients of the difference between working in the business and on the business, and very clearly in dentistry, working in the business is pretty much in the chair. And I think that's the point where most doctors want to spend a lot of their time in training and education. Maybe it is the first place they should spend, but a lot of them stop there, and they've got the patient in the chair, and they're focused on now what they have to deliver. But they have no idea how the patient truly got there, and that's working on the business and seeing all of the front office process, and understanding that, and seeing it firsthand, hearing the calls. That's the part that most private practitioners miss out on, and I think a major reason why they can't compete.
That's absolutely right. I mean, I have the luxury of spending a lot of time in the DSO world, and one of the things that they have figured out well, they haven't figured out everything well, but one of the things they have figured out well is complete visibility into the patient journey, right? They know exactly what patient searched what, landed where, what review did they see, what ad did they see, what video did they see, when did they call, how the call was answered, whether they showed up or not, how were they welcomed into the practice by the front office, by the assistant, by the hygienist, how the handoff from hygienist to doctor was, from doctor to treatment coordinator was. They have complete visibility into this entire funnel. And believe me, you don't have to be a large organization to have that. You can be a single office. When you have visibility into this whole funnel, into this whole journey of the patient, you know exactly, like, oh my God, we are really good at attracting patients. We're not good at scheduling them into appointments. Well, maybe we're good at scheduling them into appointments, but we're really not good at confirming their appointments so they actually show up. Well, if they show up, maybe we're good at showing, maybe we're good at that. But when we welcome them in the office, they don't really feel, they feel rushed, right, by the assistant, by the hygienist, and we can develop trust. So it's important to find out, because today more so than ever, the sophistication of marketing is just beyond anybody's imagination. So long story short, it's important as you guys think about marketing in 2022 and beyond, you want to think about what type of patients you want to see. Then think about, are you getting those type of patients to call you? Okay? What does it cost to make the phone ring? And then what happens afterwards? Right? Have a document, have something that maps all that. And then once you get that, I mean, nobody wants to be bad at anything, but the problem is of measurement, just like we in the CPA world. If you don't measure something, you just can't manage it, and that's Drucker, not me.
Right.
You've got to be able to manage and measure the process, measure everything that's not measured, and move on forward.
I think another thing that you've said now more than once so far is this customer acquisition cost, and it's something we talk with about every doctor, but I don't think they take it as seriously enough. It's not something they're devoted to really tracking. They don't understand the value of knowing that cost. I mean, if you watch the show Shark Tank, if you don't know your customer acquisition cost, you're out.
You're out, yeah.
But that number is vital to the entire process of knowing how much do you have to spend, where to spend it, and then making sure, again, what converts. So I know you have more on that in the slides.
Yeah, it's really important to know, because you want to be able to pull the lever, right? Turn it up or down depending on how good the month is going.
Right.
That's where you want to get to. You want to make this into a science. You want to make patient acquisition a science. You know exactly what lever to pull where, so that you can drive the right customer into the right chair at the right time, so your production per hour is the right optimal place for your hygienist as well as the doctor. It really, you have to completely get that from beginning to end. When you get that, you're going to succeed, right? Obviously, you have to deploy analytics and all these things. You have to really understand how that works. But the moment you have visibility into this stuff, you're going to do really, really well. So what I want to talk about next is really the idea of where AI fits in here. Right? AI is and obviously we've looked at AI right now on a daily basis when we talk to Alexa, we talk to Siri or Google Assistant. What that technology is defined as natural language processing. It's the ability, it's a field of AI that allows the machines to understand what humans are talking about. Okay? So when we started the journey in Patient Prism, I asked the question, and I was not a technical guy, right? At the time, I was a CPA, and I said, I wonder, we're seeing a drop off of 50%. Could we train Alexa to understand dentistry? That was the question we asked. I had no idea about any of this stuff, right? No idea. And lo and behold, 5 patents later, we realized that we had built the world's first AI, a deep AI system that really understood dental conversations.
I think it's important, the analogy you just gave, because I think even when I saw you speak in maybe your first year of business, and you were even speaking on the concept of artificial intelligence and the unknown, everyone was kind of like, what is this? What does this mean? But I think everyone can understand in today's world with Alexa and Siri and all of that now what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And you saw it early on, and that now it's catching up. So.
And we were lucky. I mean, it's not that we were like way ahead of everybody else. We just lucky. We're like, why couldn't we do the same thing in having a machine understand what happens to a dental conversation between a new patient and a front office, and what prevents the patient from moving forward and not making an appointment. So we deployed our models, we call them machine learning models, using this technology called natural language processing, and really developed something that was never developed before, and it still doesn't exist today, at least in our field, which is the ability to recover a lead that you lost 15 minutes ago. So next slide, I'm going to show you guys how Patient Prism really works. in a dental practice, and eventually we'll show some demos as well of how it works. So the idea is a patient calls, a new patient calls an office. Obviously, behind the scenes, without anybody knowing, we record that call. Well, that technology has been around for a long time. That's easy to do. It's called call tracking and recording. Right? Now, what we do next is the call gets transcribed. It goes to an AI algorithm. It looks at what the patient wanted on the phone. Patient wanted a dental implant, a crown, a bridge, or whatever they might be. And it looks at that. It looks at what the fee schedule says, UCR, and says, all right, well, the patient wanted a crown. A crown's for $1,200. It identifies the value of this appointment is potentially $1,200.
Wow.
So now we know, okay, if we lose this, what's the cost of losing this patient? At least $1,200 because they wanted one crown. If it's the implant, it's $5,000. Now, if the patient doesn't book an appointment, the AI analyzes that call based on 13 to 14 different variables, looking like, what were the specials offered? Were you actively listening? Were you empathetic? Did you ask for the name of the patient?
It's picking up like on tone, inflection, and words.
Tone, even more specifically, like, did you offer financing? When the patient had no insurance? That kind of stuff. And it analyzes all that stuff. It comes up with a score. And then what we did is, in order to keep it super relevant, all that data is sent over to a Tampa call center in Florida. And then a human being looks at that and makes and validates all the data, puts some coaching comments, and here's what you should do. And we send an alert called a reload alert.
Within minutes?
Within about 15 to 20 minutes.
Wow.
When we started the journey, it was 3 hours. We're down to 15 minutes now.
Incredible.
As of yesterday, Mondays are our busiest day. Our median reload time was 12 minutes. There's no company on the planet today that comes even remotely close within a few hours. So the dental practice receives the alerts, and typically within 20 minutes, we say, because that's the average. And then we give you this alert, and I'm going to show you what that alert looks like later on. And then you call the dental team member, somebody at the office level calls the patient back. And, you may get maybe 20 alerts a month at the most. So it's not very onerous. And they say, hey, sir, you called us earlier. And then we look at Patient Prism. And that alert also had some training videos on how to call the patient back. And we didn't offer you financing. We have really good financing through credit or whoever it is. And this could be $199 a month. By the way, all new patients get a free whitening tray this month. Come on back. We love new patients. Our doctor is amazing. He's done so and so and so. He's trained at the best institutes. And all of a sudden, a part of those people you call back actually come back. Our ratio right now is 30%. It's a big number, right? Now you basically not spend any more money on marketing and acquire 30% of people you've lost only by understanding what went wrong and following back with them very quickly. So that's how natural language processing works. This is how we decided to solve the problem of patient acquisition. You're spending money on marketing, driving leads in, half the leads or 40% leads are falling off. And we want to give you that second chance to make the first impression. And that's where, that's the power of AI, to do it at speed and do it accurately.
I think it's one thing too to have, trained people. But as we know, especially going through COVID, there's been a lot of turnover. And there's naturally with growth, there's going to be new team members that get added. And I just see this accelerating that training for someone, you may not have the time yet. They're joining the team at the front desk. And by the way, I want to talk maybe later on about best practices and the impact of taking the phones off the front desk and having dedicated people to this. But to have someone that's fairly new to dentistry, fairly new to any dental office's process, I just see this as a support system to help them, just up front on the phones. And almost anyone should be able to do this with instructions.
It's not that difficult because we put it on a platter for you. It's not like you have to log into the system all day. You get an alert, you call the patient back, give them information, we send you training on how to do it. Next, what I want to talk about is really, this is the concept I talk a lot about. And this applies both to my business as well as your business.
Right.
Is the idea of analytics, right? It's a big buzzword right now in the dental world. Oh, we need good KPIs. Oh, key performance indicators. Right? We need good KPIs. And you really want KPIs that enable you to not just get information, but take that information, develop that into what I call insight, and then take that insight and make some decision from it. And based on the decision, you make some action, right? So if you're not on that continuum from information to action, all you're having is just information. So just like in accounting, right? You can have a P&L and a balance sheet, but if you don't understand what that means and how you can improve your business from that, you don't get insights from that. Then you're not making any decisions that improve your your bottom line in this case, or sometimes top line, and you're not taking action. It's useless to just get a piece of paper.
It's not that much different in dentistry either. If you just get the X-ray,
right,
you had the exam, but if you can't help them take action, it's
correct,
useless.
Yeah. So we as at dental offices, we have so much information about our patients, right? So much information. We have information about their age. We have information about their patterns, their race. We have information about their insurance. We have information about what treatment plans we present to them. All that's information. I call them descriptive analytics. Great. It describes what happened in the past, describes all that stuff. But really, in order to get insight, you have to understand why some things happen. And really to understand, you have to inquire. No? We also call them diagnostic analytics. So diagnosing a problem is important. And then once we have some insight, we have a hunch about, can we predict this, right? We have a hunch that for example, people who are 65 and older, if I call them on Tuesdays, we have a very low chance of getting them on the phone. That's a super good insight. So we know anybody who's 65 and older, to confirm their hygiene appointments, we need to be calling them on Wednesdays. Right? That's an insight. I mean, not necessarily Patient Prism does it, but understanding that deeper will allow us. And so how do we know that, right? So that's how we can predict. I'm going to predict that if I call Mr. Smith, who's 66 years old, on a Wednesday, I'm going to have a high chance of getting him.
It's likely, you say Wednesday, it's likely that the grocery stores have this data too, and why they've chosen Wednesdays for senior citizen discounts.
Correct. Exactly right. And then based on that, you want to get to a prescription, right? What should I change? You want to be able to data to understand, okay, I understand what happened, why it happened. I have a hunch about predicting what will happen if I do some things. And what should I do? Those are prescriptive analytics. What is it that I can do to change it? Where can I pull the lever? Is it marketing? Is it communication and my case presentation? Is it the way we talk about financing? All that stuff, right? So there's prescription. When we have a prescription, we kind of make a decision, and then we take action. Right? We take action now that, okay, well, this is what works. This is what we're going to do. And if you look at any of the Fortune 500 companies that are really successful, if you look at even in your business, in our world, the really large DSOs, they really have thought through these analytics for them to understand how to convert information into action, how to weaponize your data. Okay? Having, you have Dentrix, you have EagleSoft, you have all these practice management systems. They're basically just data warehouses, not even data warehouses. They're just information. Well, there's the databases that store data, information. They don't give you any information what to do. That's why you need people, consultants, CPAs, advisors, to kind of uncover that and convert that into insight.
Key phrase I thought was weaponizing your data.
You got to weaponize it. We got to weaponize. So how do you go from hindsight to insight to foresight? Is something you need to think about as a dental practice moving forward. Because if you don't, again, if you're too busy, like you said earlier, working in your business, in patient's mouth, physically, you're not going to think about these things, and you're going to wonder why you're not growing, right? Why you're not growing. And truly, measurement is where it starts, and then really measuring the right things and converting that to action makes all the difference. So the way we implement hindsight, insight, foresight into AI, into Patient Prism is to really understand the type of patients that are calling us. So an example of that is let's say one of my goals in my office, and let's say I'm an implant dentist. I like to place implants, and I actively advertise to get more implant leads into my system because they're profitable. I like doing surgery. So, in hindsight, let's we look at last month. We talk to our office manager and say, hey, how many implants did we place last month? And our office manager says, we placed 2. And as a doctor, I'm like, that's it. We're spending $5,000, and all we got is 2 implants. That's a huge patient acquisition cost for me.
Sure.
Right? 2 implants. Let's assume there are 2 patients. Like we got 2 patients. It's $2,500 a patient. That's my cost of acquiring a customer. Not good. Not good. But anyway, that's the hindsight is place 2 implants. What's the easy answer? If you had the easy button, oh man, we need to spend more money on marketing. Right. Let's drive more calls. But then, if you look through it, if Patient Prism, it gives you this insight. Well, we're only booking 32% of implant callers, which means we're driving a lot more leads into the funnel. We're not converting them. Then we know, then another insight that Patient Prism gives you that receptionists cannot describe implants well. Okay, well, that's an education issue. And then receptionists mention financing to implants only 38% of the time. Because a lot of people don't have $5,000. Most Americans, they say, have only $400 in their bank account. Right? That's the statistic. You think they're going to come with $5,000 for 1 tooth? They're not. Right? So understanding this insight, okay, well now we know we are driving enough leads. We just don't know how to describe the implants well. Sometimes, it's just a screw that gets screwed into your gums. That's not what you say. People are already scared. And then the receptionist doesn't mention financing because that's a cost. So what do you do? What's the foresight? Like, okay, well, let's train that receptionist how to discuss implants. That'll drive more appointments. Because apparently leads is not a problem. We're not converting them. And then training how to discuss financing will overcome cost concerns. That's how you move. That's how you solve the problem. You move like, okay, instead of just throwing more money at the problem, let's go deeper and understand what it is that's preventing us from getting that. And then when we fix that, then spend more money. Because just spending more money and losing
60-something percent
60% of those patients is not good.
Right.
Because it's a waste of time. So really, the way we send you an alert, and I'm not going to go into the entire demo, but the way we send alerts out is it looks like this. This was our first patent. The alert goes out within 15 to 20 minutes when a new patient doesn't book. It looks exactly like that. And it tells you exactly without having to listen to a call. That's that score I was talking about, 57%. We look at all the different variables that went into getting that score into these 4 different phases. But then you automatically get this coaching comment which says, here's the 3 things you should have done. Before answering his question, ask for his name and learn about his concerns to take control of the call and build a rapport. Inquire about specific concerns leading him to believe that he needs a root canal. Express empathy with patients experiencing discomfort. Sell your practice. Let the patient know your doctor and the team can provide amazing care. All of this information comes to you in 15 minutes after a patient hangs up. This gives you the ability to call the patient back now.
In a lot of offices, they don't necessarily even know the phone number that's calling in, and they don't even ask for the number. Does the software capture the phone number for them?
It does. It captures the phone number. It captures exactly where they came from. It captures how the lead, where they spend time on your website. Did they look at the doctor's profile? They look at implants. They look at financing stuff. So we capture the whole journey of the patient. And then the lead or the alert comes like this within 15-20 minutes. Re-engage lost opportunity. You've lost $4,500. And then once I'm an office manager and I get that alert, I just lost $4,500. Let me call that patient back. Let me see what happened.
So based on the words used, like crown or implant. And
we know exactly.
Wow.
So this could have been, they could have said, I need A, B, C. Okay, well, based on that, does this mean that's the treatment that will accept? No. But we need to have an idea of what the patient wanted, right?
And so you match this software up with the office's fee schedule.
Correct.
Beautiful.
Right. And then what we've realized is that about 30% of these patients will actually come back. Across millions of calls, we've realized, provided you call the patient. And the patient's not going to come in automatically. We send you a lead, we send you an alert, and eventually about 30%, 25 to 30% of the patients will actually come back on the second try, provided you call them and you call them fast. You can call them in 5 weeks, or you can call them the next day. They've already called the new dentist. You want to call them before they have called somewhere else, or you want to call them even if they call somewhere else. They're like so surprised that a doctor's office called them. I'm like, hey, I want to come in, and give them an opportunity to come in for some reason, which is, you know, a whitening kit or whatever that might be, a free exam. You may want to give them a sweetener, because again, the additional cost of offering that is worth it to convert that patient, because average right now, the new patient costs anywhere between $75 and $300 today. Okay, to spend $5 in a whitening tray, or like $10 on an exam, it's not bad. It's not bad.
And so, do you have any data, not necessarily even hard data, but on best practices for making this effective that they can call back in time?
Yeah, the best, we've learned a lot from our own mistakes over the years of what works. Just having a good software in your practice doesn't work, because the software by itself is not going to do anything, right? What it requires is you need the teams to really use it. And what does that mean by using it? Is when we send that alert out, hey, you missed $4,500. We want somebody who is a practice champion for Patient Prism in there, who looks at that alert, looks at the call, and immediately calls the patient back. That's all we require you guys to do. And make an attempt. We do train you on how to make that attempt. We do train you on how to make that phone call. The outbound call is very important. We have tons of training videos. We have an LMS that has over 400 videos with respect to all things that prevent a patient from making an appointment. So we have a whole training system. This is not just use your software and bye-bye.
Right.
You're going to be trained.
I mean, this is your business. This is serious revenue you're talking about. And I think one of the biggest difficulties we have in fragmented dentistry and the traditional models of how things are set up is the front desk, where you have 1, 2, 3, a small handful of team members, and they're juggling like 5 different activities.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've got to greet the patients coming in. They've got to collect payment. Those are probably the 2 most important things for while the patient is there. But then they've also got to receive inbound calls and schedule. They've got to follow up on insurance. They've got to follow up on patients, accounts receivable. And so all of that being juggled, 5 different plates on one person is not very effective. And where is the revenue truly made on patients being scheduled for treatment?
If there's one thing I can tell you guys from learning from the best in the business is you've got to create time for your team members to have conversations with your patients and not be doing the busy work. If you're just busy doing other stuff, paperwork, doing other stuff, while you're trying to earn that patient's trust, that patient's not going to trust you. Okay? Right. So figuring out how to create more time to earn their trust, the way you earn their trust, by talking to them, by alleviating their concerns, by having the small talk. Hey, how was Johnny's baseball game last weekend? Right. That earns more trust than telling, you have a 6mm pocket that needs across the board and you need an SRP. It earns more trust. Ask about the Johnny's baseball game. Don't talk about how many millimeter their pockets are. Although we think 6mm pockets are really bad and it's periodontal disease, patient may not care about that.
The dental teams need to hear that, and the accounting teams need to hear
that. That's right. Here's the thing. People care what they care about. People do not care about what you care about. I had to learn that lesson the hard way. We thought our software is the greatest thing since sliced bread, but nobody cared about that. People care about saving time in a dental office. Right. This saves you time by understanding and elevating only the things that you need to attend to, and not by having to listen to all these calls everywhere. People care about saving time. People care about giving good patient care. People care about growth, new patient growth. All these things are accomplished by this. That's what they care about. Our offices don't care about AI. AI sounds good to me. What does it do to you? Nothing. More patients sound good to me. That's what I care about. So conversations are really important. Psychology is very important. We've helped lots of large organizations across the country. We work with many large ones that are groups, but the same concepts apply everywhere. Right? We had a group out of Oklahoma. They actually did an expansion because there is a report in Patient Prism called the Performance Report, tells you exactly how many patients could not come in because your days booked out was too much. Well, that means
biggest problem in dentistry.
Right now, capacity is huge, right? So either you expand capacity, add more chairs, add more doctors, add more hygienists, or stop marketing.
Right.
Or stop marketing. There's no reason to drive leads in if you can't see them 30 days out. No patient comes in. If you cannot put a new patient in your chair within a week, stop marketing.
So there's immediately a diminishing return on that marketing once you don't have the capacity. The farther they have to book out, these are not going to convert.
Absolutely right. So that's one thing. That's one data, that insight we give you. How many patients could not come in because of price, scheduling, all that stuff. Another DSO, obviously, this is about 50 offices in Florida. They recover almost $1.5 million of treatment just by calling the patient back after they got the alert.
No additional marketing costs.
No additional marketing costs, right? Whatever they paid us, which is very, very, very minimal. Here, there's another ones. They realize that obviously this may not apply if you're a single office, but you have multiple offices that are close by. One of the things Patient Prism will alert you is that, hey, you don't have an appointment here. You could have scheduled that patient somewhere else.
A different location. And
that's another important insight. Sometimes you can't grow. You can't get doctors today. Try hiring a hygienist today. They're not there. Right? That's the hottest profession today. One of the things we also do, we did it with this North Carolina DSO, is that we gamified the process, which means we realize that dentistry is a team sport. Team sport. LeBron cannot win championships by himself, right? Michael Jordan can win championships without Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman and Steve Kerr, all these guys, right? You need a team sport. So you have to understand that we have to take our team along with us. So Patient Prism within our team report, it incentivizes them to win these awards: Silver Award, Diamond Award, Gold Award. And we want to create a healthy competition and tell our team members, this is not Big Brother watching. It's really a coach to facilitate your own greatness, right? So we have so many these offices which will print out these certificates from Patient Prism, hang them up in the break room and say, I want a Diamond Award. And believe me, getting the team on the bus and drinking the Kool-Aid, the patient experience Kool-Aid,
right,
is super important.
So weaponize your data and gamify the process.
So Chris, one of the things we do well at Patient Prism is not simply record phone calls, look at conversion metrics, but we also look for deeper insights into the operation of a dental practice. It's not just about, okay, well, how are you guys doing in terms of booking patients when patients need an appointment? How are you doing when patients have pricing concerns or insurance concerns? And we kind of provide that on a platter, whether you're a single office or you're multiple offices. We're providing those deeper insights about marketing, about capacity, about pricing, about insurance, so that the people who are the operating leaders, whether you're an office manager, whether you're a regional manager, whether you're a vice president, doesn't really matter where you are, depending on how many offices you have clear insight into why a patient doesn't book. We have a client in Oklahoma over there, Dental Depot, used this data from our performance report, which gave them an idea that, man, some of the offices were really struggling with putting patients in because they had capacity problems. And using this data over a 6-month period, they decided to do an expansion. As we know today, as you guys know, capacity, there's no problem of new patients or demand. The problem is supply. Do we have the chairs? Do we have the doctors, the hygienists, and all these guys to do it? So to elevate that information into an insight and present that to you is going to make you like, okay, well, now we can afford to add 2 more chairs, right? Now we can afford to hire an associate because we're turning away patients. 30% of patients got turned away because we didn't have a doctor. It makes sense now to hire a new doctor, an associate doctor. So those are the decisions that sometimes people make. We had a large client here. They have about 50 offices and recovered $1.5 million in revenue, almost $1.6 million in 1 month, using our alert systems.
1 month.
In 1 month, right?
Wow.
That's a decent number, right? Decent number. As we know, accounting, these new patients came at no extra cost, and they came at a pretty decent profit margin because they came after your fixed cost that you recovered. If you're a multi-location group, you have a couple of offices, 2, 3 offices that are within a specific geographic area, you can use Patient Prism. Tells you that, hey, if a patient was not eligible to go to this office, you should have suggested them to another office. That way you're not losing the patient to your competitor. So that's an insight we drive into the offices. The other big thing we've learned, and as I've said before, dentistry is a team sport. We've got to get everybody on the bus, right? Our front office, our back office, our hygienists, our assistants, our treatment plan coordinators, our doctors. Everybody's got to be aligned. And we feel that if we can get the front office team to be aligned with the values of our practice, of giving the best patient experience all the time, Patient Prism is a tool that facilitates their greatness. It really coaches them into becoming better versions of themselves. And if they do, we provide them gold, silver, diamond certificates so that they can proudly display them on their break rooms. And that gets people excited. How do you get teams excited is the biggest challenge in any organization. How do we get people to drink the Kool-Aid and really drive change that sticks?
I think people have to know that they're creating some sort of impact, either on the business that they're working for, or ultimately it's those patients coming in and being served.
100% agree. 100% agree. At the end of the day, we're in the people business. We're in the business of caring for our patients, and if we can, but we got to get our entire team to buy into it.
All in the new patient business. Everyone is in the new patient business,
and it really is. I mean, obviously, we got to take care of our patients, and the more our teams are in tune with what we're trying to do, and they realize the importance of all of this, they're all going to come together and you're going to win championships, because that's how we win championships is by a team, not a player. There are a couple of slides to go over, and again, I've brought some big examples of, and again, it doesn't mean that you have to have 100 offices or 6 offices. It doesn't really matter, but no matter where you are, this slide is a lot to read. But for example, the first example of this is we have a client with 100 offices. We send them 5,687 alerts, which means there was new patients who didn't schedule an appointment. Those practices followed up with 5,626 patients, resulting in 147 booked appointments. Those 147 booked appointments result in 802 patients being seen with a 30% no-show rate, right? And resulting in a potential treatment of $922,000, almost $1 million of treatment, with the investment within us was about $39,900. So people ask me, what's the ROI look like for Patient Prism? It's massive, provided you're able to use it. A lot of our bigger groups ask me, well, what's my cost of acquisition of a customer? You want to understand that really, really well. And if it's in the double digits, you're in good shape. If it goes to triple digits, well, you have to understand what market you're in. In Miami, in Atlanta, in New York, cost of acquisition is in triple digits. That's fine. But it's in triple digits because you're not really talking to people correctly. That's the key that we're trying to solve. So we're happy to have an ROI conversation with you. I'm a CPA, prior CPA. We love this conversation.
I think sometimes it comes into, though, we have a very, very low new patient acquisition cost, but it's because you're not marketing at all. You're not getting a lot of new patients, right? You could always potentially get more. If you're not marketing at all, maybe you're leaving 30% on the table. I think what's really important about this slide, Amol, is that a single practice or 2 practice doctor may be looking at this and go, oh, wow, this is fancy, all these multi-location practices. I mean, if you shave off a 0
Correct.
off of some of these, I mean, they all start with 1 location.
Correct.
And the bigger these organizations get, with the larger number of locations, the larger number of total patients seen, the larger volume of calls coming in, the more loss they realize on these missed opportunities. It becomes more painful the larger you get. The best time to begin is always at the beginning, even if you just have 1 office. Maximizing that 1 office with capturing as much of the potential that office has.
And believe me, these clients have been my clients for a long time. They all started with 1 office.
Right.
Nobody got to 100 right away.
Right.
They started with 1, they got to 2, but then they systematized the process. Patient acquisition, patient retention, case acceptance. They put all these systems in place. And once they figured it out, they went to the next one. They went to the next one.
Systems and then training on those systems.
Absolutely. Super important.
Real quick on that topic, can you just speak to a little bit, what is maybe the online and in-person training support
I'm glad you brought that, and I'll bring up a next slide. We have an advanced training team. We call them the customer client success team. and they basically will train your team how to use the software. But we also have a library of over 1,200 videos that talk about every aspect of dentistry. Out of those 1,200 videos, about 400 of them have to do with front office conversion stuff and soft skills related to converting and having the sales conversations. Other 800 of them are everybody under the sun who has come in, over 45 consultants from all walks of industry experts. I think you were there.
I made one video. Yeah,
you did. You were there as well. I think Brent's there as well. We have industry experts from all walks of life, from CEO, C-suite at large DSOs, to hygienists, dental assistants. Kevin Henry talks about dental assistants. There's room, and you get access to that for free as our client. You get access to all this education. We definitely believe that education is the key, and having that. So our customer success team is amazing. They will not leave you alone. They will make sure that you're using it, and they will uncover the insights for you, and tell you that, hey, it's time to focus on this, or it's time to focus on this one particular employee who basically just does not want to talk to anybody. Maybe this person is not, and you give them some warnings, and maybe it's not the right fit. Maybe they need to be trained.
Maybe they're in the wrong chair, or maybe they're just not the right
whatever fit. It is. But sometimes you liberate somebody by giving them an opportunity to leave. Right. And it's controversial comment, but it's true. You give them, you want to be best at what you do, and we want to make sure your teams are really the best at what they do. And that is what it's all about. At the end of the day, we want to improve oral health of as many Americans as possible.
I'll say this too. I think a lot of people are hesitant, or they avoid wanting to have their phone calls recorded, wanting to let their team know that they're being recorded, and then going over those phone calls. At first, it's one of the most uncomfortable things you do.
Right.
But I promise you this, after you've heard yourself on audio, or especially video, you will never speak the same. It will be better the next time. Sometimes you're horrified yourself how you hear it. And if you just will set the emotion aside and think openly about how could I improve the phone call experience to improve the overall new patients coming into the office, to improve the organization's growth, that's where the true impact begins. And I think it requires somebody being coachable and open. And ultimately, I mean, if you can get past that initial conversation, the initial sometimes shock of somebody saying, "Oh, I'm being recorded," it's a standard part. I mean, I think you call any major company right now, and they tell you this call is being recorded for quality assurance purposes. And that's all that is quality assurance for a better patient experience, ultimately showing up in the numbers and organizations' growth.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's a good point to end on, because it really, at the end of the day, it's about the patients. And we want to make sure that we are here to serve our patients, because dentistry does change people's lives. And we are just part and parcel of this industry that has such an amazing impact. And I'm truly honored to be with you here, to be a little part of this industry that has so much potential and has made so much impact. So thank you for having me, Chris.
Well, we're truly honored that you came to see us, and that you're going to be a part of helping our clients grow. So look out for more from us on Patient Prism and all the results we're seeing with clients. We hope that you will do a demonstration with them to improve your business. We can't help you grow revenue. They can. Once you grow that revenue, we can help you be more profitable. So until next time, this is Chris Sands at Profi 2020 Dental CPAs, and make it a profitable day.